When Viktor Frankl got out of Auschwitz, he wrote about the horrors he witnessed in the concentration camps. He told us the way he was able to find meaning in those hopeless and horrible conditions. Man's Search for Meaning was a landmark work showcasing the horrors of the Holocaust from a man who suffered through the worst parts of it, and he discovered true spirituality throughout that suffering. The book was his magnum opus, even though he only spent a week writing it. An interesting aside of this is that he mentally needed to survive the Holocaust because he had a manuscript on logotherapy that he needed to survive. In the concentration camp, he ended up losing this manuscript, but he was so focused on publishing it that he had this drive to survive more than others. When he got out, he wrote it, published it, and then it was promptly forgotten about. It was only Man's Search for Meaning that people cared about, and he wrote that essentially as a side project in a week. Point is, you never know what's going to be your magnum opus. In the back half of Man's Search for Meaning, he shares his philosophy of logotherapy and how it works. One of his main techniques is something called paradoxical intention that states, ironically enough, in the same way that fear brings to pass what one is afraid of, likewise, a forced intention makes impossible what one forcibly wishes. Frankl explains that if you want something so badly, you scare it away. If you're constantly worried that some bad thing will come to pass, you're attracting that very thing to you. We've all seen those memes of people saying that they're terrified of money in order to get it. But jokes aside, Viktor Frankl isn't the only person to mention this. Spiritual people seem to understand this very well. In the book Letting Go, author David Hawkins says that because what we hold in our mind tends to manifest, the fear of loss can paradoxically be the mechanism of bringing about that loss. By the way, if you have any spiritual problem in your life, this book will likely solve it. It's incredible. This backwards law is something that has puzzled humans for centuries. It brings with it the paradox of figuring out how it is you're supposed to consistently work towards something, sometimes for years at a time, and attempt to achieve it without actually wanting it. Is it really so bad to want something? Are you really scaring it off just by wanting it badly? Luckily, many philosophies and religions have already covered the solution for us. In the Bhagavad Gita, the famous Hindu text, the god Krishna explains to the protagonist Arjuna the concept of karma yoga. Arjuna is in anguish as he doesn't want to fight in this war against his neighbors and friends and family, but Krishna is egging him on, saying that he needs to. He needs to kill his family? What kind of god is this? Krishna tells him that karma yoga is the path of selfless, God-dedicated action. It is a way of doing your work and working towards an outcome, but without selfishness. You take action, but you do the action for the action itself. You aren't worried about the fruits of it. This is the ideal. You work away at what you need to, but you don't do it for a paycheck. You don't do it for recognition. You do it because it's what you were meant to do. The thing that's hard is to be perfect with it. If you're giving your all towards something, that's tough to do without thoughts of the outcome, but you have to do it. Even if it won't make me money? Even then, if it's what you're called to do, you do it and you let that need go. Of course, set it up so that it will work out in the end. Set up a plan for it and figure out how to build out the back end ways of success in time. But the important thing is that you sit down, you do the work, and you surrender it. Now you might be saying, but Project Stoic, how am I supposed to know what to do if I don't know what outcome I have in mind? This is where Stoicism and Alan Watts help us. Alan Watts says the first question to ask yourself is, what do I want? It seems simple enough, but in order to answer that, you actually have to know who you are. That means beyond the trauma and beyond the societal expectations, what are you called to? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus tells us that whatever creator made the universe, it has a plan for us. There's something that we were put here to do, and we need to execute on that. He says our role is that of a soldier who has to listen to the general. The difficult part for many of us is knowing how to listen. Viktor Frankl said, I want you to listen to what your conscience commands you to do and go on to carry it out to the best of your knowledge. When we do this, when we know what we're being pulled towards, we do it and we forget about our goals. We have something that we need to do, we do it. Then we let unfold what needs to unfold. The Bhagavad Gita says don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you are going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued, it must ensue, and it only does so as the unintended side effect of one's dedication to a cause greater than oneself. All of this sounds like you're doing something for what would typically be called God, and doing things for that. I know some people have a lot of resistance to that, but these are spiritual people talking, and there does seem to be something to this. Whether you want to believe it or not is up to you, but these people over the centuries didn't all come to the same conclusion by accident. The question is, do you resonate with this? Or I guess if you knew what to do, you'd be doing it instead of watching YouTubes about it. And so, it is something worth thinking about. If this thought of you having a preconceived destiny is something difficult to grasp, I get it, but it's not really a bad thing. Say for example you deeply resonate with figure skating and you love it. If you came in with that installed in your destiny, is it really so bad? It's still what you want to do anyways, so the only thing that you would do is your destiny, which is something that you generally wouldn't even want to do. Or what if you're a scientist? And what if you're lost? Maybe that is something that was meant for you. What I can say is that Carl Jung couldn't prove in this existence of a higher power, but he could prove that those who believed in one got better in their ailments faster. I'll finish by saying, whether you believe it or not, this appears to be the solution to us fumbling the ball when we're pursuing something that we really desire. The answer is the process itself. Do what you need to do based on what you feel called to, and do it in the presence of the divine, in such a way that you can get lost in it, not hoping for a reward at the end, but simply having the end goal as a destination to move towards. And of course, if you like this, be sure to subscribe and check out our school community if you'd like to connect with other deep thinkers.